Welcome to Breaking Wire. Please subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon for more updates. On October 29, 2025, Windsor Castle transformed into the epicenter of global attention, its ancient stone walls and manicured lawns setting the stage for a dazzling display of British pageantry. The castle, steeped in centuries of royal tradition, was meticulously prepared for a day that would blend history, diplomacy, and spectacle. On this crisp autumn morning, King Charles III personally welcomed President Donald Trump, marking the start of a visit that would be watched by millions around the world. The handshake between the monarch and the American president was more than a formality. It was a symbol of the enduring relationship between two powerful nations. The air was alive with the stirring sounds of military bands, their music echoing through the castle grounds. Guardsmen in their iconic red coats and towering bearskin hats marched in perfect formation, their discipline and precision orchestrated to impress both the honored guest and the global audience. This was more than mere ceremony. It was a carefully choreographed display of unity and strength, a strategic move to reaffirm the UK-US alliance. The event was also tailored to appeal to Trump's well-known appreciation for grandeur and tradition, ensuring he felt both respected and admired. Every detail, from the gleaming horse-drawn carriages to the lavish state banquet in St. George's Hall, was designed to showcase Britain's enduring soft power. The ornate place settings, glittering chandeliers, and centuries-old silverware all spoke to a legacy of influence and elegance. For President Trump, this was more than a diplomatic engagement. It was a moment of personal validation, placing him at the very heart of British tradition and royal ceremony. The grandeur of the occasion seemed to echo his own taste for spectacle and status. Yet beneath the surface, the UK government had its own motives. With the country facing political unrest and uncertainty at home, officials hoped that this grand spectacle would bolster Britain's standing on the world stage and project an image of stability and confidence. The world's media watched closely as the leaders exchanged toasts and pleasantries, their every gesture analyzed for signs of unity and strength. The event was broadcast live, sending a message of partnership and resilience to allies and rivals alike. But behind the glittering facade and carefully managed optics, the real political drama was only just beginning. As the cameras flashed and the music played, crucial conversations and decisions were unfolding out of sight, setting the stage for what would come next in this high-stakes diplomatic encounter. The scene shifted to the historic Chequers estate, the official country residence of the British Prime Minister, nestled in the rolling English countryside. Its stately halls have witnessed decades of diplomacy, but today, the stakes felt higher than ever. Prime Minister Keir Starmer and President Donald Trump arrived under the watchful eyes of a global press corps, their every move scrutinized. The world was watching, eager to see how these two very different leaders would present a united front. Inside, the press conference began. The atmosphere was tense, the questions relentless, probing issues of Russian aggression, the boundaries of free speech, and a simmering scandal involving a controversial ambassador. The journalists pressed for answers, determined to expose any cracks in the alliance. Trump, never one to mince words, declared that the Ukraine war would never have erupted if he had been in office, voicing his disappointment in Putin's recent actions. His tone was forceful, his message direct, as he sought to reassure both allies and critics. Starmer, in contrast, responded with measured resolve. He reaffirmed the UK's unwavering commitment to standing against Russian aggression, emphasizing the importance of international law and the values that bind Western democracies together. Though their personal styles clashed, Trump's brash confidence against Starmer's calm authority, their shared message was unmistakable. The Western alliance remained united, determined to face down threats together. When pressed on free speech, Starmer stood firm, defending the UK's long-standing traditions of open debate and civil liberties, assuring the public that these values would not be compromised. Trump, meanwhile, sidestepped pointed questions about recent crackdowns on US media, deflecting criticism and steering the conversation back to international security. Both leaders navigated the minefield of tough questions, careful to avoid any public disagreement. Their determination to present a united front was palpable, even as tensions simmered beneath the surface. The press conference became a high-stakes performance, every gesture and word analyzed by the world's media. Unity was the headline, and both leaders knew the cost of letting that narrative slip. any hint of division would be seized upon by rivals, both at home and abroad, eager to exploit any sign of weakness in the Western alliance. For now, at least in front of the cameras, the alliance held firm. The world saw unity, even if the reality behind closed doors was far more complex. As tense negotiations continued behind closed doors, a sudden wave of breaking news swept through Washington, sending shockwaves across both sides of the Atlantic. The U.S. Supreme Court had just announced it would hear a landmark case on the legality of Trump's controversial tariffs, a move that could reshape global trade policy and redefine America's economic relationships. Seizing the moment, Donald Trump quickly spun the Supreme Court's decision as a personal and political victory. He boldly linked the news to what he called a phenomenal new trade deal with the United Kingdom, promising it would bring jobs and prosperity to both nations. Trump dominated the headlines, using every opportunity to frame his tough, unapologetic trade stance as a win for American workers and British partners alike. The media frenzy only amplified his message, making it the story of the day. For Prime Minister Keir Starmer and his government, the promise of a favorable deal with the U.S. was a much-needed political lifeline. Yet, it came with a catch. Embracing Trump's divisive economic agenda risked alienating key allies and sparking debate at home. As British concerns about the impact of tariffs began to fade, public attention shifted toward the celebrated agreement. The prospect of economic growth and renewed partnership with the U.S. captured imaginations and dominated conversations in the U.K. The United Kingdom suddenly found itself at the heart of Trump's narrative of economic triumph, portrayed as a key partner in his vision for a new era of transatlantic cooperation. The Supreme Court's move only reinforced Trump's image as a results-driven leader, willing to challenge the status quo and deliver bold outcomes on the world stage. The dynamic at the international summit shifted dramatically. With the Supreme Court's backing and a high-profile trade deal in the works, Trump now stood in a position of undeniable strength, commanding attention from world leaders. For the UK government, the stakes had never been higher. They now faced the daunting task of navigating the risks and rewards of this new economic reality, balancing national interest with the pressures of global politics and public opinion. Amid the state visit, Prime Minister Starmer faced a crisis at home, a scandal over the dismissal of a former ambassador linked to the Epstein affair. The media and opposition demanded answers, accusing the government of a cover-up. The timing was disastrous, undermining Starmer's authority during a critical summit. The scandal exposed vulnerabilities in his administration and fueled perceptions of chaos. Calls for a public inquiry grew louder, putting Starmer on the defensive. As he spoke of alliances abroad, his government battled for survival at home. The affair became a symbol of a leadership under siege. Governing under such scrutiny, a single misstep threatened to unravel everything. Beyond scandal, the UK faced a deeper crisis, a $40 billion hole in public finances after a productivity downgrade. Chancellor Rachel Reeves struggled to find solutions as the Trades Union Congress called for tax hikes on banks and online gambling. The proposal sparked fierce debate. Disinterests versus public services. Reeves was caught between the fiscal gap and political pressure to avoid unpopular tax rises. The government walked a tightrope, projecting responsibility while facing public anxiety. Economic woes formed the backdrop to the diplomatic spectacle. The debate over tax and spending exposed deep national divides. The government's ability to weather this storm would be its true test. The $40 billion question loomed over Westminster, threatening the nation's stability. Another flashpoint: the government's plan to house asylum seekers on military bases. Local communities protested, fearing strain on services, while advocacy groups decried the policy as inhumane. Number 10 defended the move, framing it as pragmatic and cost-effective. The debate became a clash of values: compassion versus control, sanctuary versus security. The government was caught in the middle, unable to satisfy either side. Images of military camps and angry protests dominated the news. Ministers were accused of sacrificing humanitarian principles for tough optics. The battle over asylum housing deepened social divisions and added to the government's mounting woes. As the week ended, the UK was gripped by uncertainty. The government's flagship employment rights bill was defeated, reigniting debate over zero-hours contracts and job security. Administrative blunders, including the mistaken release of prisoners, fueled public panic. Home Secretary Mahmood promised reforms, but trust was eroding fast. Ministers vowed to restore order, but the public was skeptical. The government seemed to lurch from crisis to crisis. Trump's departure left Britain facing its own reflection. Pageantry couldn't mask the nation's deep problems. Economic fragility, a failing justice system, and bitter divisions left the country adrift. The government promised a steady hand, but many feared the chaos was just beginning. The storm was far from over.